Hello everybody, welcome on board this Boeing 737. In today's episode on the PILOTCLIMB is gonna be the third video of a series of 3 videos where we're gonna analyze a VOR approach and how to fly it. Okay, in the first video we talked about what were the points that you should consider when flying a VOR approach, okay? And then in the second video we actually discussed the VOR approach chart of the approach that we're gonna fly today, okay? And now in the third video, we're gonna actually fly the VOR approach that we discussed yesterday, all right? So it is paramount for you to go back and watch especially the video number 2, because in the video number 2, you will get a very good grasp, a good understanding of the VOR approach that we're gonna fly today, okay? So, as you can see from the chart, we are at the moment holding over the holding that is over the Golf India Romeo VOR, okay? So we are with the LNAV. We are flying with LNAV, and LNAV is actually taking care of the holding while we are preparing for the approach, okay? What we're gonna do, we're gonna basically prepare for the approach and then perform this VOR. All right, so without further ado, let's jump right into the cockpit preparation for a non-precision approach. Fantastic. So the first thing that we need to take into consideration when preparing for the approach is that your FMC, if you want to use LNAV and VNAV, must be very updated with all the points inserted, okay? What we're gonna do in this approach, we're gonna fly the approach using LNAV, VNAV. However, we're gonna still do all the cross-check that are required, like in the old days, by checking the radials. Okay, so we're gonna use the RMI to make sure that the QD Mike and QD Romeos of the aircraft are actually correct. Okay, but we're gonna as well as load the FMC in a very precise way in order to make sure that LNAV will do its job. All right. So first of all, the first, let me put some disclaimer here, okay? The weather is great, okay? There is no need to take the weather for today, okay? Just set no winds, calm winds, nice visibility, because the main goal for today is actually to show you how to fly and how to prepare for a VOR approach, okay? And the second thing is, since I'm brand new on the flight simulation, okay? So I haven't done any calibration on this flight simulator, so if you see me on the last, when I fly manually to do crazy things, okay? Don't judge me, please, okay? Because I'm brand new, and what I found out is that when I'm pitching down, pitching up, I see that the aircraft is reacting very quickly compared to the real plane. Okay, I've been flying the 737 for more than 10 years, and I can really tell you that the difference is the 737 is a lot more slower on reacting where you are pitching up, pitching down. So maybe in short fun, if I do crazy pitch up, pitch down, please don't judge me, because I'm brand new on this. Okay, so I think it's a very nice excuse to start with, but that's it. Okay. So let's dive into the preparation. So as we said, we need, first of all, to make sure that the QNH is in the FMC. So it's gonna calculate the descent in a nice way. So if you go on the FMC, press the descent page, and then you go on the forecast page, and then you will see that in here you can actually set the QNH. So in this case, since we said that today is a standard day, let's call it, the QNH is 1013 points. It's 1013 hectopascal. If you have an ISA deviation, okay, a temperature that is not standard, you should put it in here. And here, if you want, you can put some wind. But since today there are no winds, we're gonna leave it like that, okay? Fantastic. Now, what we need to do, as we said, we have to take the chart and make sure that the points are all correct, okay? But before doing that, as we said yesterday, we need to have a very nice and clear structure when briefing an approach, okay? So starting from the top, we can say that this is the Girona, okay, Lima Echo Golf Echo, Girona approach. The chart is the 13-2, effective on 18th of October. So we've got Girona VOR running to 0. Then if you go below, the line says 80s 128.75. We're not gonna use that, but if you want to use, you just need to put this frequency in your COM2, okay, because the COM1 is used to talk to ATC, so you don't want to mess up with that, okay? Just put it in the COM, in the standby radio, and then you can get the latest weather from Girona. And then next to them, we've got the approach tower and ground frequencies, which we're not gonna use it because we are not flying online, okay? So below that, we've got the VOR Golf India Romeo frequency, which is the first and most important thing that we need to know, because this VOR is the VOR that we're gonna use when flying the approach, okay? So it's gonna have a radial outbound, radial inbound, and it's all based on the Golf India Romeo VOR. So Golf India Romeo VOR is the frequency is 114.1. So we come in here, and this is the nav, as you can read in here, and we put 114.1. 1, and then the nav number 2, the same, 114, decimal 1. Beautiful. There we go. So now we have to make sure that actually this frequency is being identified. If you look on the navigation display here, you can see VOR1 and VOR2, we've got Gulf India Roma and Gulf India Roma. So it's identified and it is usable for us. Okay, we can actually use this because it's been identified. Beautiful. So then on the next table, we've got in here a final approach course 196. So the final approach course is the radial inbound for the final. So we need to select the final approach course in here, 196 and 196. Here we go. Then next to that we've got minimum altitude distance 5 nautical miles, 2,500 feet. So what is this? As we discussed yesterday, this is our FAF. So let's see if in the FMC, in order to use LNAV, we need to make sure that in the FMC we've got the points as well, okay? So if I go on the legs page and then I put the navigation display into plan mode, okay, I can actually go point by point and see the route. So if you go, you see this center, it means that it's gonna take this point, put in the center of the screen. And if I press the step, it's gonna go into the next point. So NASGO, and then Foxtrot Delta 20, we've got 2,500 feet. So the Foxtrot Delta 20 is our FAF, because it's a 5 nautical miles, 2,500 feet. If you look in here, the Foxtrot Delta 20 is actually right in here. This is 5 miles, and this is Gulf India Roma. So if you look at this space, there is 5 nautical miles. So we are actually sure that this Foxtrot Delta 20 is actually the FAF. And if you look at the chart, the Foxtrot Delta 20 is even indicated in there. Beautiful. Then we've got the chosen altitude, 930 feet. Okay, so some operator, depending on the operator, they add some extra feet in order to make sure that you don't bust this altitude in case you have to perform a go around. So depending really on the operator, some guys they add more feet than others. But let's say for this example, let's add 50 feet. Okay, so 930 plus 50 is going to be 980. So by scrolling the knob, as you can see there in the FIS control panel, I'm moving the barrow indication, the primary flight display, just below the altitude. Okay, there where it says 5,000, just below there on the left, you can see that we can set 980 feet by scrolling that knob. There we go. So 980 feet is set in there, and then we've got the airport elevation is 460 feet. So by looking up there on the overhead panel, on the pressurization, we should put in here the land altitude. Okay, beautiful. So then we've got the MSA. The MSA we discussed yesterday, but since we are coming from the south, it's going to be 4,000 initially, and then it's going to be 9,600 once established inbound. But again, it is very important to understand that if you stay within the procedure, stay within the outbound radial, the inbound radial, and so on, and you take into consideration the minimum altitude of your approach, you can actually disregard the MSA. The MSA is more applicable if you are actually flying outside the standard arrival, okay, the standard arrival route of your approach. But if you follow in the approach route, okay, the approach procedure, then you can actually, the minimum altitude on your VOR approach are the ones that you should respect, okay? So, beautiful. Then below that, we've got the missed approach. Missed approach says, in case of go around, climb on radial 196 to 3,500 feet. So again, let's make sure that these things are in the FMC in order to see if you can actually use the LNAV. All right, so now if I do something like that, here we go, I put back in plan mode, that's the legs, now I can actually move. So as you can see in here, that was our FAF, the Foxtrot Delta 20. The Girona is the point afterwards, the runway in case we land, otherwise the FMC says runway 196 track 3,500 feet, and that is exactly the same as the missed approach in the chart. Then it says turn left, and you can see in the blue dashed line there is a left turn, maximum 220 knots, which is in the box in here, and then we have to climb 5,000 feet and join the holding over the VOR. So we've got Gulf India Roma VOR, but the altitude in here is actually different, so 5,600. What we can do, if I write 5,000 feet in here and put it in there, here we go, you can see I can actually change now my stop altitude of the missed approach. Now we've got the stop altitude of the missed approach correct, okay? So that's why it is very important to check that the points in the FMC and the points on the charts are actually the same, because if you don't do that, they you will not. In that case, if I would have used LNAV, VNAV, I would have level of 5,600 feet. Okay. However, since I'm cross-checking that the informations of the official chart and the FMC are the same, we can spot these small problems, okay, these small mistakes. And this happens actually in real life, okay? Don't think that this is a simulator thing. All right, so fantastic. So now if we go down, we can actually go into the graphical part of the chart, okay? The graphical part of the chart, again, what we're gonna do now, we're gonna brief the chart in order to make sure we know what we're doing, but on top of that, we know that the aircraft has got the actual points in there, the FMC, okay? So the lateral part, as you can see, after the holding, we can actually leave the VOR on a radial 034, because we're gonna go on the speed 220 knots. So our leaving radial from the VOR is going to be 034. So as you can see here, we've got Girona, then we've got 033 track. So it's 1 degree off, which makes sense, okay? All the way down to 12 nautical miles, and then is a left turn. So Golf India Romeo 12 nautical miles, left turn, and we should cross the point Banol, which is not in there. Okay, so as you can see, you've got Nazgo, and Nazgo is the next point. So we've got Banol and then Nazgo, but in here we've got Nazgo direct. So okay, this is one of the problems that I was talking to you. Okay, I was telling you that sometimes the simulator is not very accurate. What we can actually do is try to do it manually, okay, in order to make sure that we've got a point in there. So I can write down Banol in here, and since it's above the Nazgo point, I put it on top, and then I can actually connect the 2 points. And in this case, I've got Girona 12, the outbound distance, then we've got Banol, and then we've got Nazgo. So I can execute that, and as you can see, now we've got the points, all right? There is a small mistake in here, which is this left and right, okay? What we're gonna do, we're gonna use LNAV and VNAV, but as we said, we're gonna monitor the performances of the aircraft. So if you see that this lateral left and right is gonna bring us outside the radial, outside the minimum, outside the final radial inbound. Okay, let's say this zigzag is gonna bring us a radial 195, 193, so something that is not that will not make us establish anymore. We're gonna just use heading select. Okay, guys, it is very important that even though you're using LNAV, VNAV, and the aircraft is taking care of everything because you cross-check that all the points were in the FMC, it is important that if you see that something strange is happening, you just disconnect and you do it like in the raw data, okay? So you basically, you disconnect, you press heading select, or you even disconnect the plane, you line up yourself, okay? Because the LNAV now will really help you out, but sometimes, since it's just a computer, whatever you put into the computer is gonna give you an answer. So if you see that it's tell you something that is strange, instead of, especially on short final, instead of thinking about what is going on, just disconnect and fly the plane, okay? Or just lower your automation level. So if you're using LNAV for the lateral and you see that LNAV is doing something strange, just press heading select and do it with heading select, okay? Beautiful. So then we've got Banol, Nazgo, and then after Nazgo, we've got the FAF, which is the 5 nautical miles point, and is actually the same as the chart. Then from there we've got Golf India Romeo, which is on the chart, and then we've got the runway 20. Beautiful. So the lateral part is all confirmed, and then the missed approach, which we just confirmed that is correct. So if we scroll down the actual plate, we can see that the vertical profile is telling us that we should cross the Golf India Romeo VOR at 5,000 feet, all right? So we've got 5,000 feet in there, which is correct, and then when leaving the VOR, we can actually go down 3,600 feet all the way down to Nazgo. So we can actually do the outbound, okay? So we can actually do the outbound and then turn left and then be here 3,600 feet. So we need to maintain 5,000 feet over the VOR, and then we can descend to 3,600 feet all the way down to Nazgo. So Nazgo has got 3,600 feet above, which is correct. Fantastic. Then after that is 3,600 feet. The next minimum altitude is the FAF, which is 5 miles, 2,500 feet. We're gonna make an altitude check in there, and then we proceed, okay? So then we've got, after that, the Girona points and then the runway. All right, so, but then we're gonna do the FAF check at 5 miles, and then if you look at the chart, we've got the 4, the 3, the 2, the 1 distance and altitude checks, okay? We're gonna do them, okay? So once we pass the 5 nautical miles point, we're gonna cross-check that at 4 miles, we're gonna be at 2,220, 3 miles, and so on, okay? But one important thing in here, guys, is that during the final approach, okay, let's say you pass the FAF, you cross the FAF, you're at the correct altitude, and then what happens is that you can see already the puppies, okay? So once you see the puppies are too wide and too red, you don't really need to continue to do these altitude checks, because the puppies are the official way that tells you if your position compared to the vertical profile, okay? The puppies are okay. So you can even lose everything but still see the puppy, you can still continue, as long as you've got 2 whites, 2 reds, 3 whites, 3 reds, or you're correcting any 4 whites and 4 reds very quickly, okay? Fantastic. All right, so what happened now? So if you scroll down, we see that depending on your speed, in order to maintain the 316 degrees descent angle, which now I'm seeing that in the FMC we've got a different descent angle. So in the FMC we've got 343 and the HR we've got 316, okay? So this is not a big deal, since the FMC is actually calculating a steeper descent, okay? So we're gonna actually reach if we cross the FAF of 2,500 feet, but then we're gonna maintain 343 degrees going down, we're gonna reach the decision altitude before, because we're gonna perform a steeper descent, okay? It's still fine. We need to make sure that we actually check that the puppies are 2 whites and 2 reds, okay? So if we do, if the puppies are based on 3 degrees, then in that case, that means that we might end up slightly below, okay? But we monitor that later live, okay? We check that when we are flying in the short final. We see what's the puppy situation, then we took the corrective actions, okay? So guys, as you can see, flying is a live thing, okay? You have to brief and get ready, but then you have to make the corrections as required on live, okay? Live, whatever the situation requires, okay? So now down there we see that in order to maintain this 316, depending on your ground speed, you should have a vertical speed, okay? For us, we're gonna fly around 145 to 150 knots, and this means that we should maintain around 800 to 900 feet per minute, okay? How do I know my final approach speed? Is that because I've been flying this plane for the last 10 years and I pretty much know the speeds by heart, roughly, okay? And normally the 737 flies around between 140 to 150, depending on your weight, but that's pretty much what you should get. We're gonna talk about that later, okay? So then on the right side we've got runway and intensity light, puppy left and right, and then we've got high intensity approach resistance 2. So a quick recap about the go around says straight ahead 3,500 feet on radial 106 from Girona 114.1. This is already set and identified. Beautiful. Go down below, we've got the minimum, which is discussed already. In this case, it's 930, but we said 180. And then the RVR required for this approach, which will be 1,500 feet. Beautiful. So the circle trend is not applicable for our approach today. All right, so now we check that the aircraft has got all the points in there and are correct. So we know we can actually use LNAV and VNAV for the approach. But again, we're gonna cross-check using the RMI, so the radial. So you can see this is RMI, okay? It's telling us what radial we are in, okay? At this moment, we are on the radial 020 inbound. So we're gonna cross-check that the LNAV is actually doing the correct job, okay? So now what we do normally, once you actually set once you know that the FMC has got all the points in there, okay, what you should do is, first of all, think about where to set the missed approach altitude, because especially when you flying a non-precision approach using VNAV, you need to make sure you know a point where you're gonna select the missed approach altitude. Because if you do it in the wrong point, the aircraft will level off, okay? So, depends on the operator. Some operators have different points and procedure in order to choose where to set the missed approach altitude than others, okay? Some operators, they set the missed approach altitude when you disconnect the autopilot, the autothrottle. Some operators, they set this missed approach altitude at 1,000 feet above the aerodrome level, okay? And some operators, they just leave that at the pilot discretions, okay? In this case, for me, I think it's good if you set the missed approach altitude after we do the FAF check, okay? But before we get to the minima, because otherwise we're gonna level off, all right? So what we're gonna do, I think, set the missed approach altitude at around 16 to 1,700 feet. It's more than okay? And then if you set the missed approach altitude and we see the aircraft is doing some crazy things and we see the puppies, that's not a big deal. You just need to disconnect and land the plane, okay? Beautiful. So now, we did that, we talked about where to set the missed approach altitude, and now let's talk a little bit about performances, okay? So guys, when you're calculating the performances, you should get the weather from the ATIS. Once you've got the weather from the ATIS, you should put in a table or in an app that you've got on the OPT of your plane or your flight simulator. You should put all the data and then come up with a maximum landing weight for that particular condition and that particular runway, okay? And that maximum landing weight is normally the maximum landing weight if the runway is long and the conditions are okay, or is lower than the maximum landing weight if the runway is short or the conditions are, I don't know, contaminated runway, for example, okay? So first of all, you need to make sure that your landing weight is below your performance or your structural landing weight, okay? Today's video is we're not going to talk about the performances because it's going to take a long time before we finish the video, okay? So what we're going to do at the moment, if you press init ref, once you are airborne, you're going to get to this page, okay? This page is going to tell you what is your gross weight at this moment, okay? But since we're going to fly the approach, we're going to burn some fuel. So let's say we're going to burn 200 kilograms of fuel, so we're going to land with 63.5 because we're going to burn this 200 kilograms of fuel. So I'm going to skip the performance for today, so I'm just going to select flat 30, and then we're going to use auto brake max, okay? So the auto brake as well, when you calculate your performance, is something that you should that your performance will tell you, okay? So you should use this flap setting, you should use this auto brake, and so on, okay? So fantastic. So now we know flat 30, auto brake 3. We're gonna use the second intent for the landing as well, and that's it. Then we're not gonna do any taxi, okay? We just stop on the runway, okay? Beautiful. So now, once the debriefing is complete, you should perform the descent checklist, okay? Normally, the descent checklist, make sure that you have done everything, okay? You know the fuel. So, for example, now we've got 4.7 tons, okay? 4,700 kilograms of fuel at the moment, which is a lot of fuel. Because if you think that we are burning around 2,000 kilograms per hour, okay, this is the live fuel flow, so 2.4, okay? That's gonna give us around 2 hours of fuel, okay? So it's a good fuel, right? So then, before starting the approach as well, always remember to cross-check and make sure you've got your frequencies are selected and that are identified, okay, here on the Golf India Romeo. Okay, Golf India Romeo, Golf India Romeo, that's are identified. Then as well, make sure your standby instruments are set, because if something happens, you want to have them ready, okay? So 1013 the QNH, and this is a standby RMI, okay? Then the courses are set, the brakes are in there, and everything is complete. Okay, fantastic. So guys, now, as you can see in here, from this part here, if you put here in plan mode, you can see that we are going inbound there, okay, Girona. So if we try to exit the holding by clicking hold and then X hold and then execute that, we should fly over Girona VOR and then turn right and start the approach, okay? So let's see if it actually works that way. Again, guys, sometimes the simulator does some crazy things, okay? I'll try to make sure we actually manage them, okay? But that's how I do it in the real life, how I've been doing for the last 10 years. So I hope that this will actually works this time. Okay, so now we are approaching. I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger for you to see it better. We are approaching the Girona VOR, okay? Actually, let's do it this way. There we go. So we are approaching the Girona VOR, which is 1 mile to go, okay? And we should actually start to turn right and go inbound this radial. But the thing that is worrying me is that we've got this LNAV still holding pink active in there, okay? So let's see, here we go. So it's turning right now, here we go. So the holding pattern just went away, and now we are actually leaving on the radial 034, okay? So I can actually arm VNAV now. I can match the heading in there, match everything in there. And since we can now descend to 3,600 feet, I'm just gonna set the 3,600 feet on the altitude panel, okay? So now what will happen is that VNAV will actually take care of the descent, but again, we need to make sure that it's doing a good job, okay? So now let's make sure let's make sure that you are actually leaving the VOR on the radial 034. That's the 031, 032. I'll make it bigger, here we go. So yes, we are pretty much on the radial 034, and we are leaving the VOR, so that's fantastic. So we are in the outbound leg of the VOR approach. Okay guys, as you can see, the VNAV path, the aircraft is not actually descending, you know. Why is that? It's because VNAV, it will calculate a continuous descent. So if you are below a continuous descent, let's say from the runway, you make a 3 degrees continuous descent all the way down to your position, what will happen is that the VNAV will start the descent once it actually intercepts this continuous descent and it calculates, okay? But if you are below the profile, this continuous descent, it will keep this leveling flying until it gets to this descent, and then once it gets on the descent that it calculates, it will start the descent, okay? So you will see that it will stay leveled for a bit, okay? Even because at the moment we are at 5,000 feet, so if you multiply 5 by 3 is 15 nautical miles, and then you add 2 knots, 2 miles, because we are flying at 220 knots, that means that we need around 17 nautical miles to land at this altitude. If we come on the FMC, you press progress page 4, you will see that we've got 21 nautical miles, okay? So this is a confirm, okay, this is to confirm that you are actually below the profile, but not that much. Okay, very soon we will start the descent, okay? Beautiful. So we are on the radial 035, slightly to the right, but that's okay. Okay, 1 degree is not really a big deal. Okay, we are at 10 nautical miles, okay, from Gulf India wrong, so in 2 miles we're gonna start the left arm, okay? By doing this, the LNAV will take care about the lateral navigation, and VNAV will take care about the vertical navigation, okay? So the LNAV has got the points as we checked, and VNAV calculates the perfect descent, okay? But again, never sleep, okay? That's your job. All right, so 11.8, 11.9, now is a left turn. Here we go. So we're gonna turn left, beautiful, to get established on the radial inbound of 106. I'm gonna start to extend some flaps. Here we go. So I'm just gonna put flaps 5. There we go. And as you can see, the VNAV will actually slow down itself. You see, this is the speed that you select, and VNAV will do it automatically, okay? If you want to do it manually, as you can see, it's slowing down by itself automatically. I haven't touched anything. But because the VNAV felt that we put the flaps out, it's actually started decelerating the plane itself. So it's quite great. I mean, the VNAV really helps you out when it works, okay? Sometimes it doesn't work, because always remember that this is just a computer. So if you put the wrong data in, it's gonna give you the wrong data out, okay? So make sure you actually put the correct data. So now we've got the auto throttle is flashing. Let me see if I do something like speed intervention here. So I don't know why the auto throttle is flashing, shouldn't flash. Okay, well, I reset that. So at the moment, as you can see, the aircraft is not really following a correct turn, but that's fine, okay, because we're within the limitations. However, in real life, we will have done a perfect turn all the way down there, okay? So now the 3,600 feet, we have to maintain 3,600 feet until Glasgow. And as you can see now, is actually turning left to get established. That was what was worrying me, because I was thinking if we was doing it with LNAV or we have to do it. Now let's monitor if the aircraft actually will do this left-right in there, okay? Or it's gonna just get established. And as you can see, the radial here is 197, so it's very well established inbound. Perfect. All right, so now we are approaching Glasgow, and is our 3,600 feet point. So 1 mile before, I can actually set the next altitude, which is 2,500 feet. Here we go, 2,500 feet. Here we go on the altitude panel in here, 2,500, beautiful. And now we should cross Glasgow at 3,600 feet or above. So 3,600 feet, we are approaching. Glasgow is getting close in there. Here we go, beautiful. It's leveling off a little bit, because here we go. So now we will start the descent. We can see already the runway out there, okay? So next target is the FAF, okay, the 5 nautical miles, 2,500 feet. We have already the altitude selected in 2,500 feet, and as you can see, this green banana in here, let me do it bigger. This green banana will actually tell you where you're gonna reach the altitude that you selected in the altitude panel, okay? So if I select a lower altitude, you see it's moving, because this is gonna tell you at which point you will reach the the altitude that I selected, okay? So it's gonna be over the FAF. Okay, so we're approaching that one, everything looks great. And now, since we are approaching the FAF, I can actually select a lower altitude in there, otherwise we're gonna level off at the FAF. Okay, so I can select 1000 feet, the minimum altitude, because we've got another 80, so rounded up is 1000 feet, and we've got the VNAV is working correctly. Beautiful.
2500.
So this was the EGPWS warning us that we have some terrain below us. So guys, to make it clearer, what I'm gonna do actually, I'm gonna do something like that. Here we go, so we have a better view of the approach, okay? Let me see if I can actually reduce this a little bit. Here we go. So we are approaching the FAF now, okay? So FAF, we are approaching that 2,500 feet and no flex. So we should cross-check that the altitude is actually correct and continue the approach. Beautiful. So now we've got the next altitude. We should do an altitude check at 4 miles 22, 2,220, okay? But I'm gonna start to lower the gear because I don't want to get too much in rush, okay? So gear down, flat 15, then we match the speed in there, okay, to the 15 speeds, and we start to reduce the speed. So 4 miles, we were slightly below, we were 2,200 feet, okay? Next altitude 3 miles, we see. So now we can actually put flaps. 5, 30, and then I select the VNAV, and now you should perform the landing checks, okay? Beautiful. So next out 3,890, we are on profile. Beautiful. So flat 30, we've got the auto brake maxes in there, and as you can see, we are 3 whites and 1 red, okay? Slightly above. So next altitude is 2 miles, we should be 1550. Since we are slightly above, now what you can do, so 1550, we are slightly below compared to the chart, but we are three whites and 1 red, okay? So I'm just gonna disconnect and fly it down, okay?
1000.
Check. Disconnect the auto throttle. Here we go. So now we are perfectly on the 2 white and 2 red. And that's our goal now, okay? To maintain. Check.
500.
Check.
Minimum.
Continue. So now we have to maintain 2 whites and 2 red.
400.
Check.
300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
All right, let me stop the aircraft in here. Beautiful. Parking brake is set. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video, okay? As you saw in the short, very short final around 100 feet or even less, we went slightly forward for a second, but that's normal because when you get very close, the puppet becomes very, very accurate, okay? And on the flight simulator, as I said, I'm very new, so I'm still practicing because the feeling that you've got on the pitch control is not, it's completely different to the real aircraft, okay? Because the real aircraft is slower on reacting, okay? So, guys, if you have any question throughout the approach, just leave a comment below and leave a question in the comment below and I will help you out, okay? So go to PILOTCLIMB.com where you can subscribe for free pilot training content. I wish you a great day and I'll see you in the next one.